Hi, this is Drew Tignanelli. This is our February update here with Michael P. McCarthy.
Good as always.
Last time I think I did this with Graham, didn't I?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think you were out being sick or something.
No, I wasn't sick. I
You
was somewhere.
sure? Maybe you were at the Gaylord with the girls
I think that's what I
watching
was.
figure skating or
Yeah.
something. That was sounded like a good time. But anyway, we're here on our February 2023 update. And markets have recovered a little, Mikey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's still a big gap for us to close, but at least we're closer to it, a little closer to going higher than we were before. The S&P is year to date up about 6%, which takes it about 13% from its current market low. The NASDAQ is 11% off the bottom, but it's had 10% of that in this year. So year to date, the NASDAQ's up 10%. That's important because that's where a lot of the growth stocks lie. We're still having volatility, as I guess we always will. But the main player, the star of the show, remains Mr. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve. And no, did I say the wrong chairman, didn't I?
No, you said it right, Jerome
Oh,
Powell.
okay.
But he,
Um,
if they had any clue what they were doing, they'd do a better job than what they do. But anyway, it's a tough job. It's economics is not a science in any way, shape, or form.
you're never going to win a popularity contest as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
There's no doubt about that. But the stock market is the most important person to the stock market. It's not the politicians. Forget the politicians. It's the Federal Reserve Chairman. You got to keep your eye on what they're doing. But as you say, this year markets are up a little, and the good news is that you're seeing a lot of strength in the underlying stocks. You're seeing a lot of new highs and lesser new lows, and that tends to be a very positive sign. It's not a perfect indicator, but it's a good indicator to watch, especially when the market's going down and the new highs keep hitting new highs and the new lows keep moderating. You like to see that. That's a healthy sign in a market.
Well, and speaking of the Federal Reserve, as of the date we are recording this, tomorrow, we're expecting another Federal Reserve announcement. If Mr. Powell does what everyone expects, is that we'll still see an increase in rates, but it should be a much lesser increase than he's done in the past. So, why would there be a change to what he's been doing? Well, largely because some of the indicators that he's looking to try to make sure that he's controlling inflation have started to show what you want to see if you're trying to control inflation. Consumer spending is down, new home starts are down, various other indicators are showing that, the economy is cooling off.
Right. Yeah, well, the good news, though, is that with the raising of the interest rates by the Federal Reserve, you got two good things going on. Number one, you get real rate of return on your cash. So people who just have money in cash are now getting upwards of 4% or more right now. That's fantastic. Online savings accounts, money market funds. And I think next month, we're going to be talking to our clients about a unique safe cash option that we're going to introduce to our clients. That's going to be exciting. We'll talk more about it next time. And but the other thing is that the bond market is making a real rate of return right now. It's making like 4.5, 5, 6% on the yield on bonds. That's more than the current rate of return or rate of inflation. That's a real rate of return. Bonds hadn't been doing that for quite a while now. So this is a first. Makes bonds very interesting at this point in time.
Now, as far as those interest rates going up, there's plenty of benefits for the savers there, but for the new mortgagees, the news is not so good. But mortgage rates, 30-year fixed rate mortgage got to a high of an average rate of 8%. That has started coming down and is now down to 7%. So it's still it's a high rate of interest for people that started looking at homes in the mid 2000s and on. early 2000s and on, but it's still dropping, so that's a good sign.
Well, but the good news is that if you are looking for a house, you have more leverage to negotiate with the seller. And if you could afford to pay the current rates, chances are within a year, 2 years at the most, you're going to get an opportunity to refinance at 4% likely. I don't know for sure, but it's very probable you'll get a 4% opportunity. I don't think you're ever going to see 2 and 3 again for the rest of our lives. I don't think, but quirky things can happen.
Quirky things can happen. So, this is the February update. Everybody's had the chance to experience January, and some of the calls we've gotten from clients are similar, and wanted to, so a lot of the folks on Social Security may have gotten their new Social Security check, which should have gone up nicely if nothing else changed. But in the event that you had higher income recognition in a prior year, you might be hit by something called IRMA, which is the income related monthly adjustment amount. You want to talk about that a little bit, Drew?
I never liked IRMA anyway, Mike.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, then so essentially, if in the prior year, if you file individually at 97,000, or if you file a joint return at 194,000 or more, so if you get above 97 as an individual or above 194 as a joint household, they are going to make you pay extra for your Medicare Part
B
and Part D, right?
Part D too. Yeah, you get a little extra bump in the Part D also. It's going to be about 90 a month per person. And then if you go up like 200 and something, it's going to go up another 90. And if you go up 200 more, 200 and something more, it's going to go up more. If you go over 3 something, it's going to go up more. And if you happen to be enough to go over 750, it's going to really pop up there. A good $200 a month almost. So,
$560 for a joint. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought the top one was 750. Maybe
560.
It's 560 now, the top one.
Yep.
Man, they must have lowered that, because I remember a year or so ago. But then again, you can't keep up with this stuff as
well. It's 560 plus the 164.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
that was
the penalty, so to speak, is 560.
That put you up to 725 or so,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So anyway, it's just IRMA is something that and here's the interesting thing, Mike, is each of these limits, 194 that you talked about, it's called a cliff limit. Cliff limit means that if you are $194,001, you pay the extra amount. Now think about that. You happen to have a tax return that you filed, and it said my income is $194,001, and they say, okay, you and your spouse now owe us an extra $180 a month. Together $180 a month together. That's a little over $2,000 a year, because your income was $1 too much.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. Where is the fairness in this concept? There is none. So if you could figure out how to bring your income down by $2, you don't pay it. And if you leave it where it is, you're going to pay it.
But Drew, you've helped some people in the past when they had a unique one-time income recognition situation, haven't you?
Yeah, well, there are exceptions that you can apply for and say, well, wait a minute, my income was this. Yes, I agree. But here's one of your exceptions, and I meet that exception guideline. Like, I slowed down my work. I quit work altogether. I got divorced. My spouse died. I was disabled. I lost an income producing property. There are these different ones. And if you really have a quirky one that's not one of their exceptions, the rule is to still go in and petition a Social Security representative and ask them for forgiveness, basically. Like, I had a client who sold his house and made a boatload of money, okay, because he had to move back to Maryland to be near his children to take care of his wife, who was in early stages of dementia, or I should say dementia stages at her life. And he needed the money to help pay for her expenses. And so he's gone in and pleaded to the Social Security, you're just punishing me over punishment that I've already have enough on my plate with my wife and having to pay for that. And you're going to charge me an extra, it was almost like $400 a month for he and his wife because of that capital gain that he took on the house sale.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully Social Security will say, you're right, this was unique and we understand your circumstances, we're not going to charge it. But they don't have to. It's strictly a mercy thing if they do it.
Yep. Yeah, it's people don't realize there's a lot the IRS can do if they want to. So another question that
the operative words there is if they want to.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Drew, you tell me if you've seen difference, but the times I've interacted with the IRS, most of the time they've been generally congenial.
I don't disagree. They've been mostly congenial, but in the last 2 years, they've been congenial but unhelpful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so another question that I've gotten often recently, and it's generally the question is, hey, I heard if I keep working while I'm on Social Security, they're going to tax it all away from me. And a lot of times this is missing a lot of context.
Yeah.
So the item that they're primarily talking about, and Drew knows about this better than I do, is that if you take your Social Security early, before your full retirement age, and you continue working, Drew, you explained it as a reduction of benefits.
Yeah, it's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. It's not even a tax. It's just a reduction of benefits because Social Security was designed to be for people in retirement. If people choose to retire before their full retirement age, they say, okay, you can take Social Security now, but you're going to take a reduction. But if somebody wants to take Social Security now, let's say 62, 63, 64, or 65, those ages are all before the full retirement age. Social Security says, wait a minute, if you're still working, we're not giving you your benefit. We're going to reduce it. And if you're working too much, making too much money, we're just not going to give it to you. Even though you applied, we're not going to give it to you. But what happens is if you apply and they take some of your benefits or all your benefits away, it'll just come back to you at your full retirement age when you are able to fully retire, regardless if you're working or not.
So I think the major point to make to our clients is if you're over your full retirement age and you've started on Social Security and your alma mater offers you an adjunct professor situation or some other type of job, Social Security taxation penalty is not a reason not to accept it.
Right, absolutely. And keep in mind that you can always stop Social Security in the first year you start it and repay the benefits and act as if you never started to take it. Once you get past 1 year, you can't stop it now until your full retirement age. But they're just going to take it away and they'll just give it back to you when you hit your full retirement age. And now the benefit will grow to your full retirement benefit. You know where it even gets more interesting, Mike, is when somebody is 66 or 67, they're at their full retirement age, they can take their Social Security, but they're still working. And they do the math and they say, wow, I'm giving up $100,000 over the next 3 years. If I don't take my Social Security now, I'm going to take it. That normally is not the right answer. There are times that I've said, let's do this. And, they're
health reasons.
Health reasons, life expectancy, that's going to be a big one. You've got a spouse that's significantly older than you with less benefits. Then if you don't start applying, they're not going to be able to get their half of your spousal. That's another one that possibly would say to go ahead and do it at full retirement age. But you just let that compound till you're 70, you get a much better benefit. It's all compounding tax free. Whereas if you take that money now, you're going to pay income taxes on it. The Social Security, up to 85% of Social Security can be income tax to you. So if you're in the, let's just say 22% tax bracket and you get $100,000, 85% of that, you could lose as much as 18,000 of your 100,000. Now you only made 82,000 after taxes. You know, it's I don't see the benefit of doing it if you're still working. Let it compound. Once you turn 70, you have to turn it on, right?
Right.
You have to turn it on.
So since we're talking about full retirement age, there's been a change in the Secure Act 2.0. So
you mean the required minimum distribution?
No, I'm talking about the full retirement age, 60. If you're 60, well, I guess that didn't change with Secure Act.
Right. No, it's the fact that if you have to take required minimum distributions, if you're born in 1960 or later, you get to wait until you're 75. And people who were born in 1960 or later, also their full retirement age isn't until 67. So, you know, mine is 66 and 6 months. So I got a 6-month benefit there for being born 3 years earlier. But I get to take my required minimum distributions at age 73, not at age 75, like my sister who was born in 1960, you know?
Right. And
but, you know, before we leave that Social Security, there is one thing I just want to point out to anybody who's had a spouse that passed away before, you know, who has passed away. And now you're getting into those Social Security collection ages. You need to be very careful to make your decision, because there are unique opportunities for people who had a spouse that passed away when they were married and they didn't remarry before age 60, which is kind of bizarre, Mike, that if somebody remarries at 59 and a half, and somebody else decides to wait until 60 and a half, the person at 60 and a half can claim against their late spouse. The person who got married at 59 and a half cannot.
There's some social stuff cooked into this stuff that was from a while back.
Yeah, but you need, if you had a spouse that passed away, you need to talk to your advisor and learn the strategies that you can potentially implement, and how to do it and what the timing of doing them. And every situation is different. So very important.
Absolutely.
What else are we talking about today, Michael?
That's all our topics for the day.
Oh, is it? IRMAA and Social Security and required minimum distributions. This new Secure Act 2.0 does have some unique features, and Graham and I did a webinar on it. Does that come out yet?
I don't know, but no, you just recorded. It's probably going to be in the bottom of this email below our video link.
Right there.
Yeah, but well, not when you're playing the video, but in the email that you got, I believe that is the webinar advertised.
Well, there are some cool new features in that you could take advantage of. I'll tell you, you know, it's almost impossible to keep up with these people and the laws they keep passing. You know, every morning we wake up, we get new laws, Mike. You know.
Yep.
So
keeping us busy.
Keeping us busy. You know, I guess we would have a hard time finding another job if they didn't keep passing all these laws for us to keep up with, you know?
What else would we do?
Anyway, we're at the end of our time, and this is Drew Tignanelli saying God bless.